Hey everybody, Doofus Bob here again. Alright, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to do an unboxing video of this starship right here. Now let me move this over. I pulled out some old foam and I put it on top of the spaceport project. If you've watched the other videos, you know I'm building a spaceport for these starships. But for now, I'm going to take about maybe 30 minutes here and do an unboxing video. This is from the Disney Plus series Ahsoka. If you don't know who she is, go on Disney Plus and watch all the Clone Wars episodes. There's only 500 of them, I think. And then Star Wars Rebels and so forth and so forth. But this is the E-Wing Starfighter. It's for the New Republic, and there's a bit of a history here with this starship, okay? So if you saw the Ahsoka series and you wanted to get one of these, and you wondered, why the hell is this thing selling out? So this thing was announced earlier this year. Like, I first heard about it in maybe spring. Maybe some people knew about it before that. But when I went to reserve it, it was already too late on HasbroPulse.com. And so then a few months later, I saw it was on the DisneyStore.com. When I got there, it was sold out. You know, I thought the Ahsoka series was great. Some people thought it was mixed. But why would this sell out so quickly? There's plenty of other stuff that comes out that didn't sell that quick. Well, there's a bit of a history to this. Back in the 90s, an author named Timothy Zahn wrote a trilogy. Now, mind you, Return of the Jedi came out in 1983. And between 1983 and roughly about 1991, there was no new content. This is, you know, before the internet, or at least the internet was just getting started. But Timothy Zahn got with George Lucas and they came to an agreement. You can find out more about that online. And he wrote a trilogy. Let's see, it was, the first book was Heir to the Empire. The second one was Dark Force Rising. And then I have the third one here, The Last Command. And if I'm right, yep, this one is actually autographed by Timothy Zahn, which is pretty cool. I had that done way back in 2005. Met him at, I believe that was Star Wars Celebration 4 in Los Angeles. So he wrote, and he kind of started what would be eventually called the Star Wars Expanded Universe. And there's some spoilers in this video, okay? If you haven't read this trilogy of books is what kickstarted everything in the 90s and all the Star Wars books up until the point when Disney bought Star Wars. It's called the Expanded Universe. His character of Grand Admiral Thrawn in here is really considered, next to Vader, one of the greatest characters created for Star Wars. The ending at the time, when I finished reading this book right here, I was like, oh man, that's a great ending. Hindsight, you end up killing off a pretty awesome character. But then we fast forward. Actually, they brought Grand Admiral Thrawn into Star Wars Rebels and so forth. So what does that have to do with this ship? This ship was first mentioned in this trilogy. It goes all the way back to the 90s. So everybody that read this trilogy back then and since then knew about the E-Wing. Now, mind you, this was just 3 books. There were no pictures. There was a little bit of description in there. And this is before the internet, 1991, 92. By the time, let's say the mid 90s, late 90s, I think they had drawn some images of it. But this was, after the X-Wing, this was the next ship that the New Republic had. And this is the first time we saw it for the first time in the Ahsoka series. And then, I didn't know they were going to make it. I was really hoping they would, and they did. And so I've been waiting for the E-Wing to come out for way too long. We're talking 30 years. So, when it first came out, FYI, Thrawn, so everything that Timothy Zahn wrote up to the point in the expanded universe, up to the point where Disney bought him, is no longer canon. That's all gone. Since then, the Grand Admiral Thrawn was reintroduced in Star Wars Rebels, and so Timothy Zahn got with them and he rewrote some of the history of the character here. There's a series of books, and I think there's even more books now about him. Definitely recommend reading anything by Timothy Zahn, and the Thrawn character is just one of my favorites. These 3 books don't have anything to do with this ship, really. If it's mentioned in there, I don't remember. But, so anyway, when this was being let out, a lot of people jumped on it. And I don't go to Hasbro.com every day to see what's coming out. Well, I missed it. And then I saw it in a Disney store and I missed it, sold out. And fortunately, I got an alert on my phone that it was back in stock. And so I bought it off of the DisneyStore.com. So I thought it would be really cool to do an unboxing video of this. It's going to sit on the spaceport, probably in a little bit more visible spot than some of the other ships. I really like this ship. So I've never done an unboxing video. So let's hope that we don't screw this up. I did put down some of this pink foam here just to protect the spaceport a little bit. I'm going to be cutting into it and such. So let's go ahead and we'll show the box a little bit here. Vintage series, vintage collection. It comes with the droid KE4-N4, which is pretty cool because they didn't always used to come with the droids. There's the side view. The back looks very much similar to the front, whichever the front or back is here. There's the top. It even says Kenner, who made the first Star Wars toys before Hasbro got the license. So, I'm just going to cut into this. Cut the tape here. I'm going to do one side. I always end up opening the wrong side. I don't know about you guys, but whenever I open a box, I always end up opening the wrong side. But I think maybe this time I got the right one. So we got small parts warning. Okay, don't let small children choke on it. Okay, let's open this up. All right. So it looks like we're gonna have the fuselage and then the side left and right wings. It's nice that the engines comes attached already. Now to attach the blaster cannons. Put the, what is that, the canopy probably? Put the droid in. Then this little part back here. What are these, landing struts maybe? And yeah, they're pretty simple. Don't know if there's any decals in here. I'll tell you what, you guys today are lucky. Let me tell you, back in the 80s, those decals were up. Okay, you had to dip them in water, carefully get them off, then place them onto the plastic, parts of your spaceship. Always went on crooked. We're little kids. We just wanted to get them on there. And it was horrible. God forbid you got it wet again. Maybe if you're out playing and it started raining, then the decal will slide off again. So, we'll put that over here. Let's get this out. I'm going to take the box and put it back here. there's not much here, but here we go. Have a little sip of some Grogu juice here. All right, so that's pretty cool. You got the wings and, well, I tell you, the details a little bit nicer now than when I was a kid. The painting is definitely better. I feel like the plastic is a better grade of plastic. I don't know about longevity. So the plastic they used when I was a kid, you know, they didn't know about some of the health hazards. The shit. I think there might be lead paint in there and all sorts of other stuff. But you know, I still have my X-Wing from 78. But this plastic, I don't know. Let's see how long it lasts. So, oh, okay, it came out. Okay. Now I do like the fact that they've designed these attachment parts much better than when I was younger. This is like this might be. Yep, there's the landing. Oh, look at that. That's okay. Oh, nice. You hear it clicking. Very nice. Very nice. You can see the bolts, but that's fine. It's on the bottom. Some of the toys back in the day, they didn't care where they put the bolts. Hell, I remember some of my friends cut their hands on some of the bolts. Not on Hasbro toys, but some other stuff. Right. Get that out. Put that back here. Take you out. Same as the other one, right? Flapped open a little bit there. Well, there's some markings on here already. I don't know if that's where they can step or what when the pilot's getting in. Very nice. On its own. Pull the fuselage out. Here's the blaster cannon. I'm going to sniffle a little bit. It's I think it's like 22 degrees outside right now here. Get that part. Get the little droid out here. Had a relative over yesterday, and he said something to the effect of, "Oh, you're going to take it out the box." But yeah, I tend to take all my stuff out of the box. You know, I would like to display it. I do have a couple things in the box. Well, maybe you can see here. If you look back there, I've got a V-Torrent Starfighter in the box. And that's only because when I bought that, the guy who sold it to me, I found it at a toy store. He was going out of business, so I just asked him how much he wanted for stuff, and he's like, he gave me big discounts. So I actually got two. So I opened one, and it's sitting on the shelf behind me, but that one's in the box, and I got a snow speeder, and then that Boba Fett Slave 1, which that particular version is tiny. I don't like that one. That's why it's in the box. But I have an older version that is looks a bit better. Looks a bit better. I'll go ahead and put that over here for now. Okay. So here is KE4-N4. So if you watch the Ahsoka series, when what's her name, Sabine is going back to her little tower that Ezra used to live in, they send a couple of E-Wings out to find out why she didn't come to the celebration. So this is the droid. I have my thumb in front. This is the droid that was with the pilot, which now that I see did not come with the pilot, which is fine. I might buy a Luke Skywalker pilot outfit figure and put him in here anyway, because in the Thrawn trilogy, the original Thrawn trilogy, Luke did fly an E-Wing, but the character states in there that he prefers his X-wing. There's the back. So he just talks about the droid a little bit. Very little, actually. It's just one sentence. Um, he says he was with the New Republic pilot Lieutenant Callahan on Lothal. Okay. So, and then it's the same thing repeated in different languages here. It's pretty cool. He's it looks, honestly, it looks like the head of R2D2 with a little bit more yellow and then some other colors down here. I guess that is a different shade of blue. It's more of a maybe like a bluish green. So hold that up there. If you like starfighters, which is one of the things I love about Star Wars the most, is all the ships. I have so many ships here. I just every time I see them, I want to grab one. Not all of them. You know, I didn't buy the Geonosis ships. They look kind of, well, I was gonna say they look buggy, but they are bugs. And what else? Some of the Separatist ships. I didn't get those. You know, you pick and choose what you want to spend your money on. So I went with the Republic stuff instead. Okay. So let's go ahead and follow the directions here. Okay. Make sure if there is a step 1 or 2. Looks like you put the wings on first. So I'm just going to snap those on and then put the blasters on. Try not to screw this up on camera, shall we? Oh yeah, okay, now I like that. So you see how there's not much flexibility here? That's pretty awesome. So I have Poe Dameron's X-Wing sitting over there on a shelf. And the blaster cannons on that were pretty thin. And they were really flexible. And they're all bent up now. I did have it in a box for a little while, a tote. And now they won't bend back. So this blaster's actually pointing out like this. That's my fault, though. Okay. So, you just snap it on, right? There you go. You heard that little click there? It's like, yeah. And same thing on this side. You got these little parts here, here. Go in there. Snap that on. There you go. Nice and easy, you know. It's for kids, but I wouldn't be surprised if I screwed it up. Ah, this is interesting. So there's, I don't know what these are. Are these like little rear-facing blasters? I don't know if you can see this right here. The one over here is a little bent. As I just was talking about how easily something's bent. I don't want to break it. But that's still pretty cool. Okay, so awesome, awesome, very nice. I like that. So, let's take out the landing gear so that when I do put it down, it sits perfectly. Okay, and I'm guessing this one just opens like that and like that. And you just pull it out. All right, let's put her down and take a look here. I'll put it like this for you. That is very nice. That is very nice. Okay, now I'm going to make a comment here. This is a very nice starship. And I know there's inflation and everything. But is it $100 or more nice? For somebody like me who spends his money on Star Wars and stuff, you know, maybe it's not really a big deal. But I think Hasbro could have lowered the cost on this a little bit. I love their stuff, love buying their stuff. I love their products, especially Star Wars. I'm not as fond of some of the newer stuff like the Micro Force, I think it's called. I prefer the 3 3/4 inch. I think you get really nice details on there. But stuff is getting pricey. You know, it's not cheap to buy these, and if you're, you know, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, you got to go to your parents and say, hey, buy me this Starfighter. How much is it? Oh, it's about 120 bucks. Ouch. That's a lot. You know, my grandson was into Star Wars for a while. He still is. Yeah, I mean, I've given him some of my stuff, but I bought him some of his Poe's X-Wing and so forth. And it gets pricey. It gets pricey. So, let's put this on. So it looks like, here's the blaster. This goes on the inside, so that goes on this side. Again, there we go. That goes over here. Put that on. Okay. So you've got these two little brackets here. Goes in there. There we go. Sticks right on. Fighting with it. Very nice. Okay. Compliments to Hasbro. Things go on easily. They fit snugly. Very nice. Nothing's flopping around. You know, if I am going to pay that much money, I want a product that's you know, built correct. Very nice. Okay. So now it's showing me that I can slide the canopy open. Apparently. Oh, okay. So you know why that's there. If you don't know, they're showing you that you can open and close it like this. Because on most of the previous ones, it opened up. And if you're a kid or a disgruntled parent, you're trying to help the kid put his pilot in, and you're sitting here trying to open it this way, well, you're going to pop this out. And then you're going to have to, I suspect you could probably put it back in easily. But I think that's pretty cool. So something to know. You know that's why there. So the next picture is just showing you how to open the landing gear, which I already did. And looks like we need to pop out this back part here before we can put the droid in. Now, I think I'm going to leave the droid in there. I haven't decided whether or not I want to put this droid in here. Like I said, I wanted to probably buy a Luke Skywalker pilot figure and put him in there. If so, he's going to have R2-D2 with him. So I'm going to leave this in the box here. It becomes a nice little collectible. And I'll tell you what, you know, 20, 30, 40 years from now, if somebody's interested in buying this and they're really looking for it, because I don't think they made too many of these. Not as many as they used to. This will be the hard part to find. Because people, you know, he's not a famous droid, you know, he's not, at least not yet. Maybe in, you know, season 2 of Ahsoka he becomes important, but I seriously doubt it. So this being, you know, still mint in box is probably going to be worth something. Everything mint in box would probably be worth a lot more, but that's not always the case. There's been I've been told there's been, I think, 9 Star Wars Celebration conventions in this country. I've been to 8 of them, or it could be there's been 10 of them. I've been to 9. I don't remember. And I have seen people pay a lot of money for the accessories. Okay. So take let's see, Jabba the Hutt. Hold on, I'll show you what I'm talking about. This isn't the first version of Jabba. I don't have the old version from Return of Jedi. But if you found it in later on, what you found was the Jabba figure, and sorry, we threw Ula down, and this loft that he sits on. Anything else, you never found. And so I actually saw a guy at a convention that some of the vinyl, the plasticides are starting to come out of this a little bit. That's kind of weird. That is a chemistry thing. As some plastic sits, the plasticizers tend to leak out. Not good. Not good. Another reason why things become rare. Um, I saw a guy. I think this was Celebration Orlando 2017. There was some accessories that came with this because this isn't exactly the same as the old version, and I think it was this. He paid $300 for it because he had all the other pieces, and that's what he was missing. And I think it was just this little part here. Maybe it had one of those little frog creatures in it or something. It's crazy that well, it's not crazy. It's just, people want to complete their collection. So that Jabba that had its own little wheels. I hope it doesn't roll off my shelf. Okay, so just to show you, I believe this just pops out. Maybe, yep, here it is. Look at that. It just comes out, and you put your droid in here, your astromech droid. And this is historically in the novels. This is where the droid would reach back to make repairs. You can see they did a little bit of work in here. You've got maybe lines going to the main reactor or something. This is also where the supplies would be kept. That the droid could reach, or if your ship crashed, you could have survival stuff back there. But like I said, we're not going to put that in there. I believe it goes in like this. And this is a bit of a interesting material here. Let's get that out. Seems this is a different kind of plastic. It's got a little bit more flexibility to it. That's pretty cool. That's a good idea. It's got a different feel. So this feels like slick, hard plastic. This has like a coating to it. That's interesting. So there you go. That's actually all there is to it. There's no decals in here that I can see. I'll just double check, but I don't see anything. Always look through the packaging. I had a friend who opened a TV. He bought a TV, spent $2,000 on a TV, got out the box, threw it all, everything else away, set it all up. Couldn't find the remote. Didn't realize it until the next day that the remote was in the box and the trash people had already taken everything. So always look at the box. So there you go. First unboxing video. Tell me what you think.
I think Coolsville sucks. No, don't record that.
Nice comments only. I like it. I really like this. I've been waiting a lot of years for this to come out. The detail is very nice. Turn around back here. Blaster cannons. Engines. You got some recessed, what do you call it? Work in here. Shows you some of the details. That's what I'm trying to look for. And then you've got little red decals already on here. Probably not decals. And there's something right here. It's in Arabesh. Those of you that don't know, that's the Star Wars language. I might have to decode that. So that would be pretty cool. It's very nice. So I do know some people like to go back with the same paints they use to paint the little fantasy figures, and if you ever look at terrain building and whatnot, and they add a little bit more depth to the starships. I don't do that very often with them. I don't really plan to ever sell anything, but you never know. Maybe the grandkids will get sick of it all and sell it for money, which I told them to, if they don't want it. But you could get some null and wash, or mix a little, thin out some black paint with some with some thinner medium or a little water. And just go around all these little this detail work here for the engines and the cockpit and everything. It'll give a lot of depth to it. The downside is you might I don't know, it's like a polyethylene maybe. You don't want to. I would tape it off if you're going to do that. All these areas here, and then work on it. Tiny brushes. And then it would look pretty cool. I don't plan on doing that. So for now, here you go. All right, there you go. The New Republic E-Wing. If you go to Hasbro, I did email them way back around June and say, hey, is this gonna come out again? And they said as of that time, they did plan to release it more. I got this on DisneyStore.com. They got another batch in, so I grabbed one. I went back the next day. I thought I'd get one of my grandkids one, but they were sold out. And as I mentioned earlier, now you know why. Probably a lot of older guys like me out there are saying, oh God, the E-Wing's out. They went out and bought them all. So there you go. Totally recommend it. Another great Hasbro product here. Doofus Bob here saying have fun. Chill out, relax, watch a movie, and have a good day. See you later, everybody.